This is Optimal Living Daily, episode 1624. This simple strategy decreases anxiety and fear by Benjamin Hardy of benjaminhardy.com. And I'm Justin Malik, your very own personal narrator. I read to you from some of the best blogs in the world every day, covering personal development and growth, lifestyle, minimalism, and more. If you enjoy the show, please share it with someone. That's how I can keep this podcast going. It's with your help. But I'll keep this intro short, so let's get right to it and continue optimizing your life. This simple strategy decreases anxiety and fear by Benjamin Hardy of benjaminhardy.com. The future is filled with unknowns. There's so much uncertainty, not only regarding personal issues, but also global and political issues. This uncertainty often leads to worry. Some estimate that people spend nearly 6 years of their lives worrying about the future. Ironically, a primary regret in older people's lives was the time they spent worrying, according to Cornell professor Carl Pilmer, who interviewed over 1,200 elderly people. Over and over, Pilmer heard the same thing. I wish I hadn't spent so much of my life worrying. For instance, John Alonzo, aged 83, said, "Don't believe that worrying will solve or help anything. It won't, so stop it." Similarly, James Huang, aged 87, stated, quote, "Why, I ask myself, what possible difference did it make that I kept my mind on every little thing that might go wrong? When I realized that it made no difference at all, I experienced a freedom that's hard to describe. My life lesson is this: turn yourself from frittering away the day worrying about what comes next and let everything else that you love and enjoy move in," end quote. From the vantage point of being near death, life seems very short. Time is a precious and very finite resource. The longer you live, the more you realize your time on this beautiful planet is brief. The research is clear. Worrying often leads to long-term health consequences, including cardiovascular disease and other chronic conditions. Not surprisingly, research has found that people with an external locus of control spend much more time worrying than those with an internal locus of control. Your locus of control is what you believe dictates the course of your life, external or internal. Either you're in control of your life or something else is. If something else is, you should be worried. After all, there's nothing you can do about it. Conversely, when you have an internal locus of control, you proactively take care of the situation. You don't wait for life to come to you. You act, not react. Worrying doesn't solve your problems. Actually, when you worry, you perform worse. Your working memory, short term, which should be focused on the task, is being used up worrying. Worrying is a form of self-inflicted torture. Write it down. Several research studies have found that writing down what you're worried about can calm you down. There are two separate groups of researchers who have found that writing reduces your worries about the future. However, these groups prescribe different things to write about. Researchers at University of Colorado have found that writing about your personal values, such as family and friends, helps you perform better. They call this values affirmation. According to the researchers, quote, "It reminds you what you stand for," end quote. Conversely, researchers at the University of Chicago have found that having students write directly about their concerns helps reduce their worrying. According to Dr. Baylock at University of Chicago, quote, "When you write, you might reappraise the situation, thinking about what has to be done rather than what you might lose," end quote. The cool part is both interventions work. I've personally done a blend of both for a long time without being aware of the scientific findings to back it. If I'm about to give a public speech, or if I'm worrying about anything in particular, I write down the things that are important to me and the things I'm worrying about. It puts things in a proper perspective, helping me realize that it doesn't really matter. Everything is going to be okay. Burn it. Another interesting approach, less scientifically validated, is writing down what you're worried about and then burning the piece of paper. Some call this practice write and burn. Others call it burning release. Thinking about what you're worried about brings your emotions to the surface. While you write, you reframe your thinking toward those worries. Burning what you've written down is a helpful way of letting go. Write down what you're worried about. Acknowledge it. Burn it. Let it go. Keep moving forward. Pain is inevitable. Suffering is optional. Quote, "Between stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space is our power to choose our response. In our response lies our growth and our freedom." Viktor Frankl. The sensation of fear or concern is actually highly beneficial. It reflects the body responding to a stimulus, directing where you should be paying attention. However, these sensations are meant to be learned from and responded to, not dwelt in. Said Ryan Holiday in The Obstacle is the Way, quote, "There's no good or bad without us. There is only perception. There's the event itself and the story we tell ourselves about what it means," end quote. Worrying is when you take something and attach negative emotions and meaning to it, which leads to unnecessary suffering. Looking back, you'll regret worrying. Quote, "What great thing would you attempt if you knew you could not fail?" Robert H. Schuller. Worrying is generally focused on something uncertain about the future, like passing a test. Once you've finished or completed what you were previously worried about, you see it with new eyes. Now that you've done it, you understand it. There's nothing to worry about. You know the process. You've watched yourself do it, so it's reasonable to believe you could do it again if necessary. But if you haven't yet done something, you don't usually have that level of confidence and understanding. But could you? You absolutely can. This is what Tony Robbins calls resolve. To have resolve means it's done even before you've actually done it. You've decided you're going to do something, you're committed to it for the long haul, and in your mind, it's already a done deal. You are resolved. It is finished. Hence, Ralph Waldo Emerson wisely stated, quote, "Once you make a decision, the universe conspires to make it happen," end quote. Get out of your head. That's where worrying will keep you. Unclench yourself. Take a few breaths. Quit torturing yourself and those around you. You are going to make it through this. You might as well enjoy it. You just listened to the post titled, "This Simple Strategy Decreases Anxiety and Fear" by Benjamin Hardy of benjaminhardy.com. I'll have some comments, but first, with Father's Day coming up, I'm sure you've been wondering how you can go above and beyond to show Dad that he is on your mind. What about a gift that ties into his hobbies? From grilling to yard care to original ideas for a diehard sports fan, the Grommet has more than 3,000 products to suit your needs. All of the products at the Grommet come from small businesses, many of which created unique products that you can't find at a big box store. They are carefully reviewed by the Grommet team to ensure that you shop by the values that are important to you. They're made in the USA, giving exposure to underrepresented entrepreneurs and promoting sustainable living. Here are some cool gift ideas I'd recommend: an indoor tabletop grill, organic yard dice, or artisanal brew bread mixes for a good time with the family. We're partnering with the Grommet to bring you this great offer for first-time customers. Visit thegrommet.com/old to save 15% on your entire first purchase. That's spelled thegrommet.com/OLD, and I have that linked in this episode's description. Thank you to Benjamin. Great points here. Like yesterday, a little theme of writing things down. Although this is a little bit of a different perspective, this is more of a write and burn approach compared to write and revisit. A lot different. Both are effective and have their uses. And I have used both methods. Just like he suggested, I found that when my brain is going in circles or I'm worrying, I'm having trouble letting go of something, writing it down and never reading it again actually helps a lot. Also, brain dumping and basically writing out every thought going on in your head as it pops up is super helpful too. It is for me. I wouldn't recommend going back to reread it because that can make the issues worse, but it's great to get it all out there and feel like you've let it go. That's been super powerful for me. So maybe something to try today. But I'll leave it there. Hope you're having a great Friday, and I'll see you over the weekend where your optimal life awaits.